Welcome everybody to the first video of Nordluft Coding. My name is Mathis, and in today's video I want to show you how you can set up an EC2 instance as your remote interpreter and how you can connect to this EC2 instance through PyCharm, for example, or through your personal IDE. So what are the reasons or what are the advantages of this architecture? So the first or the main reason for that is that you can dynamic adjust the resources or the platform of your instance. So it means you are not stick to the resources or the specs of your local machine, for example, of your laptop or your desktop PC. No, you are very flexible in the choose of the different resources you like to use. So for example, if you like to use an instance with four CPU cores and 60 gig of RAM, yeah, do it. But if you also like maybe to at a later point, you can also say that you like to change to, for example, a GPU instance because you need a GPU for your machine learning model training, for example. Yeah, so that's possible. You are very flexible through that, and that's a very nice solution. And another nice advantage of that is that you store your code also local on your machine, but also on your remote machine. So you have two different locations where your code is saved. And you can also make this code very easily accessible to other persons, maybe your team or friends of yours you like to show your code. And if you give them the access to the EC2 instance, they can also easily see your code, execute them, and use it. So it's very nice to do it in that way. And now I want to show it to you in live, and let's dive into the into the tutorial. So yeah, now we are into our AWS Management Console in my account, and we are here in the EC2 cloud service from AWS. So which I will show you here is first the creation of the instance itself, and after that the association of an elastic IP, because we will also do that for best practice purposes in the end. And yeah, so first of all, let's start into the launching process of the instance. So I will call the instance Remote Interpreter. After that, you can choose between the different operating systems based on your requirements or purposes, what you like to do. I mean, you can choose between Debian, which is Red Hat, Windows, Ubuntu, Mac OS, but I will stick to Amazon Linux. Then you can also choose between different AMIs. So if you like, for example, like to work with PyTorch or TensorFlow as machine learning frameworks, for example, you can choose here between that. So that frameworks are then pre-installed on the instance, and also some different SDKs are pre-installed. But we will don't need it here for our demonstration purposes. But it's good to know, I would say. Then you can choose between the two main architectures for the instance. But I will stick to the default. And then the most interesting part is then the choose of or the decision for one of the different instance types. For example, you have here the T2 small, T2 micro, T2 medium, and there are also many more of different instances you can see. But in the end, they are different in some specs, tech specs, for example, different amount of CPUs or gigs of RAM inside the instance. But I will stick now for demonstration purposes to the cheapest one, to the T2 Nano. And so that's that part. But what's also very important for later on is the creation of a key pair, so a PEM file, because you need it then for authentication in PyCharm. So when we like to log in on our instance from our IDE, so I will call it here key pair. Single key pair is easy enough, and then we can create it. And we have it here now in our downloads, so keep that in mind, but we will use that later on. And I can, I mean, if you like, you could now here choose between different networking configurations if you like to, but in general, if you have created normal or when you have your account, normally you have a direct VPC allocated with that, and then you could also stick the parameters here at default. And that is which I will do now, and say launch instance. And now when the instance is launched successfully, you can go on the instance overview and see, okay, here my instance is now in the panning status. So yeah, but now we will go into the Elastic IP service and will associate, first of all, create a new Elastic IP. So what you have to do is to go to allocate Elastic IP address, say allocate, and then you have here a new Elastic IP, so very easy. You can give them a name, for example, Elastic IP minus remote interpreter, so very easy. Save it. And then you can say you like to associate the Elastic IP address with the specific instance we have created in the previous step. And now we choose that instance, say associate, and then we go back on the instance overview, and you can see now in the details of the instance that we have now an Elastic IP. And this Elastic IP is, you can also see here in the public IPv5 DNS. And this address here in the end is the main entrance point, or the main address we will use or as our remote host. So that's important for our configuration in the next step. So now we are finished with the setup of the EC2 instance and the Elastic IP. And yeah, now we will go on in the next part of the tutorial, and this is the connection between PyCharm and the EC2 instance as our remote interpreter. So see you in PyCharm. Okay, so now we are on PyCharm, and you can see here our completely new and completely blank Python project with our main.py and this code inside it. So very basic. So if you create a new PyCharm or a new Python project, you will get explicitly that, or specifically that here. And yeah, now first of all what we do is to define a new interpreter, because like you see we have no one yet. So click here down below, or maybe go over the file writer, go on settings, then into the project. Then you have here the Python interpreter, and you see here's no interpreter left which we can use. So we will say add a new one. And now we have here the possibility to define a virtual environment, a Conda environment, but this is only locally. What we will do is to use our remote EC2 instance as interpreter, and that means we use SSH. So like I said in the previous step, we have our IPv4 DNS as our entrance point, so we will copy that and go back to PyCharm and define it as our host. And our user, I will call EC2 user. Go to the next step. And also now what we have to do now is to authenticate to our EC2 instance. And like I said in the previous step, that we have to keep in mind that we will need the PEM file again. Now we have the step where we need it, and now I go into the directory where I have downloaded it. So I guess it is downloads, and then here keyparib.pem. So I will use that file. Go to the next step, and you can now see here my project root is synchronized. So my local directory, so of the EC2 Remote Interpreter tutorial, which is lying on my OneDrive, is now synchronized with this path. So with tmp/pycharm project 132. And yeah, and our interpreter on the instance itself is lying, or is located in this path. And now we say deploy. Okay. So there is a problem. Okay, so yeah, no problem. Let's look into it. So under user bin. Okay, it took a bit of time. Hope not too long. Okay, and now we go down to Python. There. Okay, there's a specific definition of the Python version, and not Python itself. So yeah, okay, we say Python 3.9. It's easy. And then we say finish. So, and as you can see here, many packages pre-installed on the instance. We say apply, say OK. And now you can see that we have here now our remote instances, or our EC2 instance as the remote interpreter. And we have now also, or you can see that we have a file transfer from our locally folder to the new folder on EC2. And when you like to prove that, you can go onto the deployment and the browse remote host tool. And now you see the whole project directory, or the whole directories of the instance itself. And under TMP and PyCharm project 132, you can see here's our main.py. And when we say now in our terminal, when we like to connect to this instance, we are now on it and say ls. Okay. I have to find out on what. I guess we have to go one step back. So now we are on our home directory, and also one step back, we are now in the project on the root directory, and can say now tmp. And now we should see the PyCharm project, right? There we go in. And now we should see our main.py. There you can see. And now everything you have to do is to say, okay, I like to run, for example, Python 3 and main.py, and you see our code here. Hey guys. And the cool story is that it's real-time development on the remote instance. So it means, for example, we can see, hey guys, with a capital G. Yeah, and you see down below that the files are directly synchronized. And now we say again Python 3, and you see, okay, hey guys, the changes are directly synchronized from your local directory with a remote directory on your EC2 instance. And that's a very nice, setup for developing with a remote setup, and you are not that dependent on your local machine. So yeah, that was with the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed, guys, and I wish you a good day and see you in the next tutorial.